So the students previous morning to all of you as the in previous class we have discussed the what is the herbicides role, advantage and disadvantage of herbicides, and today with the classifications or the herbicide and what is the type of the herbicides and mode of application of the herbicides. So the classification of the based on the herbicide on the different types. So first is the classification of the herbicide should be based on the method of application. Second is the mode of action. Second, the mobility, the mobile and immobiles, and based on the time of application, and based on the molecular research. These are the types of the herbicides or classification are the based on these basic parameters. So the next one is the based of the first classification based of the method of the application. These are the are two types. Basically, the soil applied herbicide, when these are type herbicide are directly applied in the root zone or the underground part of wheat, like a fluorochlorine is the example of this. And the second is the foliage application of the herbicides. Like herbicide are primarily effective in the plant foliage and the glyphosate and the paraquat. So next one is the based on the actions. Based on action of the herbicide. So selective herbicide, these herbicides are considered as the selective when in the mixed growth of plant species are like kill two species without the injuries of the others of the like etrogens. So the second is the non-selective herbicide. Thus they destroy the majority of treated vegetation like paraquats. That doesn't matter. So the next is the based on the mobility classification. So these classifications based on the contact herbicides and translocated herbicides, systemic herbicides. So the contact herbicide are kill those the plant parts which have the come into the directly contact, like a paraquat. Paraquat is the direct contact herbicides categories. So next one is the translocated herbicide or systematic. These herbicides which the tends to move the treated part of the through the xylem and phloem tissue depending on the nature of the molecular. It's like glyphosate. So these one is the like a classification of the mode of the action and mode of the action and mode of application, method of application, and based on the mobility. And next one is the based on the time of application. These are categories based on time of application, like a pre-plant application or pre-emergence. In the pre-plant application is the application of herbicide before the plantation, and the soil application, like a soil application, whereas the foliar application is done when here is the example of fluorochlorine can be applied with the soil and encouraged before the rain-fed and groundwater. So the glyphosate is applied in the foliage and perennial cypress. So these are herbicide application before the time of the sowings, before the sowing. So these are again classified into the 2 or 3 groups like a pre-emergence, post-emergence, early post-emergence categories. So the post pre-emergence herbicide application, that means the application of herbicide before the crop or weed are emerged or germinates. So in the case of annually crop application should be the showing the crop before the application, there are 2 to 3 days after weeding. So the example of these applications should be placed etrogen and the date of the sowing sugarcane. This is done at the immediately effect of the rain control of the new flush of the weed. So the intercultivated and the orchid and the weed specified the pre-emergence weed. So the etrogen, pendimethalin, butachlor, and thiobenprof and petrichlors. So these are the pre-emergence of herbicide. The second is the post-emergence herbicide. Then these type of herbicide are coming after the application of herbicide. The emergence of the crops or weeds is the referred to the post-emergence application. Then the weed are grow before the crops are planted have been emerged through the soil and water killed to the herbicide. When is the called early post-emergence. And the example of spring 2,4-D and the salt controls parasite and wheat, striker and sugarcane. So the emergence of spraying paraquat and emergent wheat to the 10 to 15 days. So the planting of potato can be called as the early post-emergence glyphosate, paraquat and salt. Early post-emergence. There is another application of the herbicide as the slow-growing crops like potato, sugarcane. 2 to 3 are showing that these are the certified as the post-emergence. Next one is the classification on the based on the structure, molecular structure. So the inorganic compound herbicide are organic compound based herbicide. So these are the classification are the should be the most and the another properly. So the herbicide formulation. Next one the topic is the herbicide formulation. Formula that means the herbicide is the structure natural is may be solid and liquid, volatile and non-volatile, soluble and insoluble. Hence, these I made the farmer suitable and the safe of the fields and use the herbicide formulation should be the prepared by the manufacturing of handlings blending to active ingredients such as the solvent and the carrier surface and the sticker of the stability of the so these herbicides are the maybe effectively and the increase. So the next one is the objective of herbicide formulation. What is the major objective? Because these are the easy to handlings and high to control activity of targeted value. Only when the specific plant are killed, then the main crop are saved by the fields and the control by the application. So the more effective of the herbicide formulation and the create the major more profit for the yields of the crops. So the next one is the need of preparing herbicide formulation. What is the need? So the discussion should be the must be the have to product with the physically properties suitable for the use in the variety of types of application and equipment as condition. So that to the prepare of products which have the effectiveness and economically favorable so the use. So the prepare of products which have suitable for storage and under local conditions. So that will be the matlab these are the preparing of the conditions and the next one is the type of formulations. So on this slide, type of formulation like emulsified concentrations, EC and wettable powders, WP and granules, G and water soluble concentrations, WSG. These are the short form always use as the purchase the byproduct like herbicide products like 1 kg. So these are the concentration are put in the bags. So the emulsified concentration. These are the concentration of herbicide formulation containing organic solvent and adjuvants to the facilitate emulsion with the water. But that's like butaclose. Second were the water level powders. So the herbicide are absorbed by the inert of the carriers together with the adding surface and the acting acids. So the material is finely ground and that which has been the suspension with then the treated with the required and the volume for water in the example is atrazine. So next one is the granulation. So this is the inert material. So the carrier given the granulation sap and the herbicides active ingredient is the mixture with the sand and vermiculite. So the finely ground is plant is the part of the carrier material and the alloclose. Next one is the water soluble concentration. So is the paraquat and diquat is the material of the these are the types of the formulations and so the last one. So thank you and for the